Of course, retrospectively, I have also read, well, or not a lot, but I've read some key documents, and yeah, I must say, to some extent, it also blew me away, right? But
It
I was
seems
not,
it
yeah,
seems nefarious, actually.
yeah, 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 yeah. That is, yeah. Of course, but again, my viewpoint is that what has currently happened, or what is currently happening, that we have been turning through this mass vaccination a relatively harmless virus, not completely harmless, but relatively harmless. We have been turning this through massive gain of function into really a weapon of mass destruction, right? And that is the thing we first have to deal with. You know, every time in business, you have to prioritize. Well, if there is one thing that I put on the very top of the list, then it is how are we going to deal with the kind of virus that is circulating right now and is in no regard when it comes to its biological properties comparable to the kind of Wuhan virus that invaded our countries 4 years ago. And this will be the big topic. For me, it's the only big topic. All the rest, we will have to deal with it afterwards. But I'm sure that many of the topics that are now on the agenda will simply be cancelled for many reasons. Not to hide things, but
For
if
example, which topics are you speaking
for
of?
example, the origin of the virus, many of the lawsuits, etc., will all be cancelled. These are things that take a lot of time. People don't imagine. Most people think I'm just a crazy man, but what I'm really predicting is a massive, massive tsunami. And then you have to see, you have hundreds of items on your agenda, but if such a thing happens, I mean, many of these agenda points just get wiped off the table, of course. So I think the trick is to be able to concentrate on what is most important. And I'm not saying that all of the other topics on the agenda are not important. They are very important, but we will have to deal with the most important things first and see what is left then to deal with. But yeah, to your point, I've also been surprised with all what's going on or what has been going on behind the scene, where people have this kind of very, very suspicious research projects and to some extent want to patent things or patenting things, viruses that then ultimately appear to be the circulating virus in the population. So how does that rhyme? It's very, very difficult. I don't know, but I'm a scientist and I'm saying the most important from a scientific viewpoint is now the threat of the currently circulating virus, given the dysregulated immune response in millions of vaccinated people, right?
Now, you've said very clearly in more than once that you expected a great deal of trouble in a fairly uh, quick time frame upcoming in the months ahead. What can people do who are worried about their immune systems? Uh, we know here in the USA we have a number of organized doctors, such as Peter McCullough and his group, who have various treatment protocols for vaccination problems, namely spike
Mm.
proteins that's circulating in people's system. Do you have any idea on your own what people might do in the face of this problem?
Yeah. Well, James, you are recording all this, and I'm very happy about this because nobody believes me. Nobody, even these frontline doctors, don't believe me when I say, guys, none of your treatments will work because it will go too fast. It will go extremely fast. It will be a hyper acute tsunami, right?
Hmm.
Where people who start to show symptoms will pass away within 24 hours, right?
Oh my goodness.
Nobody believes me. Of course, nobody believes me. That is why it is good and it is exceptional that you can record my words. And yeah, in the sense that, okay, I mean, it is documented, right? So because what happens is that what is deteriorating the situation is every single reinfection, re-exposure of people who have been vaccinated. And you will see, and you can write this down, or it is recorded. You will see that what will happen, for example, in the next coming weeks, is that you will see that we will have more and more cases of more and more serious long COVID. Please remind it, more cases, a higher prevalence of more cases and more severe cases of long COVID.
That
Yeah.
is the
They
chronic
will,
presentation of
yeah,
the
they
disease.
will they will start to replace the surge of the cancers, right? So things will go. So we go, remember, from an acute disease. I just explained it, acute self-limiting. Now we have a more chronic phase. It will end with a hyperacute phase, a huge wave. And of course, nobody, but, I've been studying this like for 4 years. I know what I'm talking about. I'm probably the only person, in all modesty, who understands the immunology behind this. And so, what I can advise, and I have done many, many videos to make people aware to all the vaccinated people is that they should start. What do they need to do? Well, they need to avoid reinfection. It's very simple because it's the reinfection that is now the cause. The reinfection in the vaccinated people, that is what the culprit is. That is what is responsible for deteriorating the situation. So if your immune system cannot avoid infection, what can you do? Well, the only thing you can do is very, very simple, is take antivirals, of course. The only difference is that you will not be able to wait for taking these antivirals till you have symptoms. So what I'm advising is as soon as people see that in one or the other country, one or the other state, for example, in the United States, this thing starts with, hospitalizations and deaths going up very rapidly, they need to take antivirals prophylactically, not wait till they have any symptoms. Because I can tell you, I'm in Belgium. If it starts in the US, or if it starts in Israel, or if it starts in the UK, I bet you that within a few days, you will see the same scenario in many of these highly vaccinated countries, but not in Africa, of course. No problems with long COVID in Africa. There will be no tsunami in Africa, right?
Yeah.
Because it's herd immunity. We don't have herd immunity.
And low
That's the,
vaccination rate.
of course, of course, of course.
Now,
Africa will win.
when you say antiviral, are we talking about these pharmaceuticals that were demonized by the public health, ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine and others like it?
You have been following the evolution of the FDA, their position towards ivermectin in the recent days?
Yes. Well, they seem to be making a pivot.
Yeah. You know what I have been predicting? I have been predicting already half a year ago that the public health authorities are finally going to have mandates for ivermectin vaccination. I mean, this seems a little bit hilarious, right? But that is the kind of evolution that we are going to see, because which antivirals could you use? Listen, when you hear Pierre Corey and other experts, I mean, the results with ivermectin are fabulous. It is very safe. It is the only antiviral that is cost effective, that is widely available, can be supplemented in sufficient quantities, and that is safe. There is simply no alternative. Yeah, maybe hydroxychloroquine, etc., but this is, let's say, the same ball game. And the public health authorities will come too late with their ivermectin mandates. But you see already how they are evolving now, how their position is
Well,
evolving.
also you can see how that, if they do that, that will really disorder the reputation of medicine,
But
worse
who
than it
cares?
already is.
Who cares?
Well, it's not. It's
No, no,
not
no,
so
but wait a
much.
minute. Wait a minute. You know, the thing I want your audience to understand is that what we will be facing in terms of the hyper acute COVID crisis that is imminent is that we will have, and that is the positive news, we will have to build a completely new world, right? So there won't be the FDA anymore or all these folks, I don't know where they will be going, what will
Yeah.
happen to them. It's very uncertain, but it's very, very clear that when this starts, our hospitals will collapse. And when the hospitals collapse, that means that the chaos, yeah, in all kinds of layers of society, financial, economic, social, you name it, the chaos will be complete, right? And that is what I'm very clearly predicting. And I'm not a fool. Yeah, I'm a scientist, right?
Hmm.
I insist people can look at my curriculum. I've been talking like 4 years about this. I've written many, many articles. People can ask me questions. I'm teaching online courses, lectures on epidemiology and pandemics and epidemics, etc. And it's very strange for me to make such statements, but
Well,
I'm not hiding it because I'm 200% convinced that it will happen.
one final question: have you been personally persecuted for spreading this information? Because that's certainly the case in the USA, where doctors have opposed the public health establishment and the medical establishment. Have you been under attack?
Well, I've been a little bit under attack in Belgium by a bunch of, immunologically or scientifically illiterate journalists, etc. But I've not really been suffering. But listen, of course, I have my strategy. First of all, I've been lucky. Why? Because I'm still, a veterinary doctor, right? I'm not a medical doctor. I have not a practice in medical, I've not a medical practice. And secondarily, I've never been naming certain names. I've never been attacking people individually. When I talk about, idiots, public health authorities, etc., I have no problem if I talk about the WHO, but I'm not going to cite particular names, for example. And the third thing is that everything I'm saying, even if I make very strong statements, I can back them up with scientific data, right? My discourse is scientific. I'm a scientific activist, right? But I'm not the guy who turns to conspiracies or things that I cannot prove or that I don't know for sure. Not necessarily pretending they're wrong, but if I don't know it for sure, you won't hear me about this. If it's not my field of expertise, I will delegate it to other people, etc. But I will always very clearly express my opinion on the things I know without attacking people in person, right? So yeah, I've not been suffering too much, and also I've been being in Belgium. I've primarily been speaking in the US and abroad, not that much in my country, because I wanted to reach as many people as possible. Yeah, if I give an interview in Belgium, there is 30 people who will watch. If I do it on a US platform, I can add a few zeros, right?
Mhm. Well, this has certainly been and is going to continue to be a very strange period of world history.
Yeah.
I want to thank you very much for coming on the podcast. And This will be a bit of a cold shower for a lot of listeners out there, but I think your message is very important, and we should be very careful of how human affairs proceed in the months ahead. So thank you very
Yeah.
much, Dr. Geert Vanden Bosch. Is there any particular website that you have that you would encourage listeners to go to for
Yeah,
information?
well, we publish all the information, all my articles, interviews, etc., are published on the website Voice for Science and Solidarity. So, Voice for Science and Solidarity, because I think these are two notions that are very important to science, and also solidarity, no discrimination whatsoever towards vaccinated people. Like, it was also completely ridiculous to discriminate or the unvaccinated at the beginning of these vaccination campaigns.
Yeah.